let's be real. Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, no matter, will make more than a max contracted endorsements if they stay with the Fever. But Lexie Hull has been spotted back. This is a tweet from Birdology, and this is from obviously Lexie Hull's Instagram. Has Lexie Hull posted anything else on her Instagram?
The internet is going crazy over Lexie Hull's recent appearance at the Indiana Fever facility. However, this is the topic that no one is discussing. This is more than a light exercise. This is a billion-dollar chess move that might decide whether the Fever becomes a dynasty or fades into oblivion. I want to be really clear. We don't want Lexie Hull to come back to Indiana. We are working under the presumption that she will return. You haven't been paying attention to the money if you believe that's haughty. Because this is the unpleasant reality. The WNBA doesn't want you to consider that Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull will earn more money from endorsements while remaining with Caitlin Clark in the Fever than they would ever receive from a maximum contract elsewhere. We are discussing generational riches as opposed to a somewhat higher salary. Let's be honest before anyone starts sobbing in the comments about team culture and loyalty. Professional sports are what this is. Perhaps 10 years remain for these women to safeguard their financial prospects. Do you believe that they would rather restore a little market than the Caitlin Clark empire? Please. Lexie was photographed by Birdology at the Fever training facility on Instagram. She is there with the team trainers Rob Dozier and Keith Porter. Rob is using deceptive shots. Everyone is behaving as like this is simply another off-season training while Lexie is working hard. It's not. This is Lexie Hull raising her banner. She is saying, "I'm staying where the money is," to every other team in the league. I'll remain in the spotlight. I intend to remain where championships take place. Let's address the elephant in the room, though. 3 months after rupturing his Achilles tendon, Keith Porter is still wearing a walking boot. 3 months. I don't want to frighten anyone, but that is alarming. An Achilles tear is serious, so that's really worrisome. For a complete recovery, we're talking about 9 to 12 months. And something isn't adding up if, after 3 months, you're still in a boot. In college, I tore my Achilles tendon, graduated early, and experienced a pulmonary embolism that delayed my recuperation. So believe me when I tell that it raises doubts to see Keith still wearing that boot. Queries concerning the medical personnel of the Fever. Concerns about whether players are being forced to return too quickly. However, this is where things become hot, so let's turn back to Lexie. Her likelihood of staying is significantly increased by the fact that she is back in Indiana and working out with the group. Furthermore, that is not conjecture. This is simply how it operates. Players that stay with the team during the off-season are not eligible to leave through free agency. You know who we don't see all the time? Turner, Bree. And before Turner fans attack me, I genuinely believe there's a good chance she'll make a comeback. However, Bree at the facility isn't posting Instagram stories on a daily basis. She isn't using the trainers to grind. That provides all the information you need to understand who the Fever prioritizes. While playing for Perth in Australia, Bree averaged 10.4 points per game, which isn't bad but also isn't exactly setting the world on fire. She is, in fact, primarily a defensive player. However, in the modern WNBA, a roster slot must be justified by a two-way impact. You can't match what Lexie Hull delivers. You can't teach hustle. She plays with a level of wild abandon that is impossible to teach. Putting her body in danger for charges, grabbing loose balls, and making successful plays that aren't recorded in the stat sheet. Does that imply that she must begin now? It becomes difficult at that point. Which is superior, Lexie Hull or Sophie Cunningham, if you ask me directly? Sophie is doing better. It's not a popular opinion. That's just the truth. Sophie is a better shooter, more disciplined defender, and a more complete player. However, here is where Lexie sets herself apart. She is exceptionally skilled at one particular aspect of her job as a stopper: drawing charges. Is she able to protect Kia Copper or Ryan Howard one-on-one? Not at all. She will be quickly cooked by those players. They'll pass her by. They'll make her appear foolish. Kelsey Mitchell must accept such defensive assignments as a result. However, Lexie Hull devours guards who like to work off screens and who rely on physical contact. She will utterly disrupt your flow throughout a game by drawing 2 offensive fouls. You will be annoyed by her. By the fourth quarter, you'll be thinking about her rather than your game since she will have taken over your thoughts. That cannot be replaced. Do you recall that playoff game against Atlanta? The game-winning defensive stop was accomplished by Lexie Hull. That is the kind of effect that doesn't appear on the stat sheet until it makes all the difference between winning and losing. I'll be honest now. How crucial a defensive playmaker like Lexie is to winning a championship is beyond me. The WNBA lacks sufficient championship data points to make a firm conclusion, therefore nobody really knows. Here's what I do know though. You won't find anyone better than Lexie Hull if you think defense style counts. The opposite kind of defender is Sophie Cunningham. She is a container. She has self-control. She is not a gambler. She doesn't have the speed to take down elite guards, but she makes you work for every inch. Different players and skill sets are both beneficial. To be honest, I don't mind a rotation in which, depending on matchups, they both start at the 3. Actually, I don't. Choosing between Lexie and Sophie is crucial for the Fever. Maintaining the core 5, Sophie, Lexie, Caitlin, Aaliyah, and Kelsey, is crucial. A dynasty is built around those 5 guys. If you lose even one of them, the whole thing falls apart. Oh, and hold on to KK Hammond for possible purposes. You keep her around because potential counts in this league, even though she probably won't play much next season. You go shopping when you've secured those 6 players. After that, you spend whatever it takes to acquire a top-tier power forward, someone who can hit the post, and someone who can protect Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart. The Fever are serious candidates for the championship if they acquire that piece. Without it, let's be honest, Natasha Howard was completely decimated by Alyssa Thomas in the playoffs, so they are just one Natasha Howard away from being disappointed. Dominating, not close, and not competitive. The Fever are just one power forward upgrade away from becoming the clear favorites to win the entire tournament the next year. It's just one piece. And it's not simply talent that makes them potential favorites. It's consistency. Chemistry is involved. Together, these 5 players have experienced playoff struggles and know how to prevail. Lexie Hull's return to the Fever facility is therefore not just welcome but also crucial. It's the difference between squandering Caitlin Clark's prime and creating a dynasty. Because this is the brutal truth that no one wants to express out. There is a timeline for Caitlin Clark. Maybe 5 years will pass before the league catches up to her. 5 years prior to the onset of aging and damage. It took 5 years to assemble a championship core around her. The Fever cannot afford to spend a whole season trying to figure things out. They must attack right now. Lexie Hull has to be locked down immediately. They must now sign that power forward. Because it will be too late to begin construction when Caitlin enters her peak in 3 years. This is the time. The next 10 years of Indiana Fever basketball are decided during this off-season. Additionally, Lexie Hull is working out with the team in Indianapolis. The first domino to fall in the correct way is that. Does this mean she will stay? Not, of course. Players have second thoughts. Offers are received. Agents participate. Until the ink dries, nothing is done. However, knowing that Lexie is in the building will let me sleep better tonight if I'm a fan of Fever. Knowing that she is opting to stay with the organization rather than looking into other choices makes it easier for me to sleep. Because being present is important in professional sports. It matters how close you are. Where you sign in free agency depends on the connections you make throughout the off-season, and Lexie Hull is establishing those connections in Indiana. So allow me to pose this question to you. Is this only a smokescreen before Lexie Hull signs somewhere else, or do you think she will remain with the Fever? I'd want to hear your opinions, so please share them in the comments. Click the subscribe button if you think the Fever are going to build a dynasty because we'll be covering every move this off-season. The WNBA is going to get really exciting, And it all begins with Lexie Hull making the potentially game-changing choice.